Whether you're Irish or not, St. Patrick's Day is a celebration enjoyed the world over and provides the perfect excuse for a pint of Guinness or an Irish whiskey. But if you're indulging in a tipple, you might want to be aware of the common mistakes people make when it comes to beverages such as Irish coffee of the perfect pint of the black stuff. Here drinks experts reveal the common mistakes drinkers make, such serving whiskey with water and sipping the head on a Guinness. Whiskey myth: you should add water. It really depends on the strength of the whiskey you are drinking. But an easy way to think of it is that it acts like a firework, said Jameson Irish whiskey brand ambassador Ronan Collins. For the following 15 seconds or so after you've added the water, the flavors and aromas will explode and blossom, but then they will disappear and you may be left with an expensive watered-down whiskey. For maximum enjoyment, Ronan recommends a ginger ale mixer and a squeeze of lime, or pairing your dram with a beer. If you have a dark stout or fresh IPA on SPD, pair it with a great Irish whiskey. The flavors from both will dance and play alongside each other and really turn into something fun and different, he explained. Kevin Pickett, Tullamore DW brand ambassador, reveals how to drink whiskey and beer together. Step 1. Take a sip of a tasty beer and savor. Step 2. Take a sip of whiskey and see how the residual flavors of the beer play with the whiskey. Repeat Step 1 and 2. Myth: serve your whiskey in a rocks glass. Dave Worthington, brand ambassador for that Boutique Y whiskey company which produces a 13-year-old Irish single malt, said the glass you use is key. A simple tulip-shaped wine glass works wonders, but a special nosing and tasting glass will help you get the most out of your dram, he said. The tapered lip of a tasting glass guides aromas to your nose, and you can use its wide bowl to swirl the liquid, allowing it to release the distilled compounds. Myth: serve whiskey on the rocks. Ice can be refreshing, certainly in the warmer months, but it can stop some of the aromas developing. Dave added, it's easier to nose a whiskey at room temperature, but hey, it's your whiskey, and if you prefer it with ice in it, there's no hard and fast rule. Myth: never drink whiskey after beer. Kevin Pickett, Tullamore DW brand ambassador, said the biggest whiskey myth is that whiskey before beer you are in the clear. Beer before whiskey is far too risky. Funnily enough, the Irish have been drinking beer and whiskey side by side for hundreds of years. It gained prevalence in the 1800s, where the Boilermaker, a pairing of a beer and a whiskey chaser, evolved. The best approach is kicking off with a beer, charging the palate, getting into that social groove, and then following it up with a smooth flavoursome whiskey. My favorites include a nice creamy stout with a whiskey. This brings out the spice in the blend and they just work wonders together. POITN myth: never drink it. Mike Hardman of Alliance Online Catering Equipment Providers advises drinkers not to fear the famously strong beverage, which was only legalized in Ireland 2 decades ago. To experience the full kick of poitin, you'll want to shoot it neat. Use a shot glass so you don't inadvertently pour yourself too much. And to make it easier to kick back, he said, enjoy as a Boilermaker by following up with a beer if you want to take the edge off. It works particularly well if you carry the malt flavor through by choosing a red or amber ale. Poitin and Coke is popular in Ireland, but the spirit mixes well in all kinds of concoctions. Use as a vodka substitute in a ginger mule or apple martini to really bring out the flavors, making sure to use proper measures. Bailey's myth: serve at room temperature. According to mixologist and drinks consultant Missy Flynn, Bailey's is best served cold, so keep it in the fridge for the perfect chill factor. Put your glasses in the freezer before serving your Baileys, she said. Some people think that pouring over rice will dilute the liquid, but actually, using the perfect amount of ice, 3 large cubes, cools the serve and doesn't melt. Guinness myth: Guinness will fill you up. Guinness Opengate brewery manager Padraig Fox told Female Guinness Draft is actually a very accessible stout, as it uses nitrogen gas, which is what gives it that smooth creamy texture. Spencer Large, bar manager at New Ulla, London's Irish Fire Pit restaurant and cocktail bar, recommends the best food pairings for your drinks. For Guinness, oysters is a classic pairing, adding salt to the savoury yet slightly sweet flavour profile for a more rounded experience. But I find smoked fish works best. Smoke is a common flavour found in stouts, but in Guinness its presence is softer than most, so its addition really enhances those roasted, burnt flavours in the liquid. Any aged spirits lend themselves more to after dinner, mainly due to the flavours would add and enhance, such as vanilla. But absolutely there are foods which work wonders with whiskey. Spicier whiskies will work great with spicy foods. Just to double up on the burn, the high ABV obviously helps the burning sensation too. So I'd always have a Pilsner on the side to refresh yourself when things heat up too much. Spicy ribs and a whiskey is something I'd never turn down. Any peated whiskies will work incredibly with blue cheese, and they also stand up really well to dark, fatty meats, such as lamb, by adding a smoky element. A white chocolate panna cotta is another pairing that I absolutely love with peated whiskey. Silky, creamy sweetness just tames it so well. Any sweeter, richer styles of whiskey can work beautifully with barbecued foods, but I'd usually stick to desserts with these ones. Freshly baked gingerbread paired with the richer Christmas cake whiskies, or dark chocolate for a guaranteed win with almost anything. Many people assume Guinness is a very strong heavy beer due to its color, but in fact it is 4.2% ABV and only 198 calories per pint. Myth: savor the head. When it comes to tasting the pint, don't sip the head of the beer. This is where the most bitter flavors are, Padraig explained. Instead, as you raise your glass, keep your eyes fixed on the horizon and drink right through the head of the beer, and this will deliver the beautiful creamy texture that Guinness fans all love. Gin myth: serve in a tall glass with a slice of lemon. Elliot Hughes, partner at the Dingle Distillery, an independent Irish artisan spirits distillery located on the west coast of Ireland, said that the traditional method of serving is outdated. Switch up the stereotypical tall with wedge of lime G&T and use a Copa de Bouillon glass with slice of orange garnish. Taste is 80% smell, and the balloon shape of the glass traps the aromas to really bring out the botanicals and enhance the overall flavor of the spirit. The orange garnish because it brings out the citrus notes and adds another subtle dimension. Myth: mix with tonic. This may be controversial, but personally, I think a good gin should be able to stand the test of being enjoyed neat. Elliot said, I would suggest serving with nothing but ice in order to really appreciate the more subtle, floral flavors. In our case, the fuchsia, hawthorn and heather. By letting the spirit sit just long enough for the ice to begin to melt, the gin can be enjoyed to its full potential without diluting the flavor profile. Irish coffee myth: coffee will overpower the whiskey. David Jameson, an award-winning coffee mixologist who is hosting a workshop at the London Coffee Festival this April, said a brew is a must. A lot of people forget that when you add whiskey, sugar and cream to your coffee, you are diluting the essential elements that make that coffee special. I always brew for Irish coffee at double strength. About 40 grams coffee to 400 milliliters water should make enough brewed coffee for 2 drinks. Myth: hold back on the sugar. Again, you might think you should go easy on the sugar so as not to drown out the taste of the alcohol, but ultimately you will miss out. Too little sugar and your cream will not float. Your coffee will taste flat and you will not get the full body you want. I usually aim for about 12 grams per drink, David said.
Where the freaks at?